Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the episode of the Unturned Podcast. I'm your host, Charles, and we're joined once again by Try Games.
Or
Sir Eddie.
hello, everybody. 57 episodes and going strong. It's been wonderful.
And the rest of the hosts are completely gone. I don't know whether. Well, I know one of them is out, kind of vacationing, and the other one is just like I don't know. So you're gonna just deal with us. Sir Eddie, of course, is just a stand-in for the other two hosts because, Sir Eddie is amazing.
Yes.
I couldn't test it out.
Sorry for the last month's episode. Honestly, a lot of it was the reason why it wasn't out. Is my fault mainly. I'm gonna blame myself on this one because this is I should have just recorded an episode anyway. But shit just kind of happened with all of our real life things, mainly with schooling. So it kind of stalled the episode from happening, and it just got to the point where we didn't record last month. But I'll do 2 episodes this month to make up for last month. So I want to apologize to everyone who was anticipating an episode last month because we did kind of troll there.
Nice
As you can tell, Trent is always eating on call.
I swear to God, Charlie, you call me at 12. What time is 12? It's time to eat. I slept.
I ate before the episode was gonna start. I ate at 11:30.
You ate at. Oh wow!
I ate at 11:30. You were just I don't know. You're just a different being.
Stop casting a spell on me, bro.
Casting a spell on you? No one's casting a spell on you.
Okay, that's what the shadow government says.
Shadow government. Okay, whatever. All right. Well, this is the Unturned Podcast. We're gonna talk about Unturned today. There's not really much to say besides the entirety of Buak, but I wanted to save the conversation for about Buak.
Right. So this can't be the Buak episode.
Obviously not, Sir Addy.
So then what? So what are we, the hosts, going to talk about?
You're not a host.
No, temporarily. The badge will be taken away after this episode, but for what it's worth.
Well, we can talk about whatever. I mean, we can talk about Buick. I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to bring it up.
There's a fucking video I saw by LVR Gaming, and it was like something about like a shitty like server host or something. Like,
what was it about?
It was like some dude saying the N-word and being a piece of shit to staff or something.
Oh Christ!
I don't know his name, so
that's very classical Unturned drama. I wanted to talk about, I guess, mainly just kind of the scene as of right now. I know we've been, all of us have seen Buak before it was, released to the public. I guess an interesting conversation I saw Soraya having with another individual was the reception from people to something like Buak. And I think we all kind of collectively agreed that the main reception of Buak was going to be more negative. But I feel like it won't stay that way as long. I think the map will grow on people. I think it's just a matter of learning a little bit more about the map and like playing it. I think the map will eventually be beloved by a more majority of people as of right now. Because right now it's kind of like 50-50.
Yeah, people are in and out.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that, Sir Eddie?
Ooh.
Wait. I'm sorry, I was taking a sip out of an energy drink. Yes.
Do you think Buak will grow on people?
I think over time it will grow to be beloved for what it's worth. I don't know. I just think it's different, and it's taken, at the very least, the storytelling aspect in a very different direction, but also artistically. It's a sort of return to roots from 2.0 and a sort of homage kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you think that a map like Buak is necessary to continue like the development of Unturned Survival as like a genre?
Well, if I had to say anything about that, I think the Unturned Survival has gone through stages. Currently, not currently, let's say before the release of Buak, for a long time we've been at the stage where new map releases were greatly inspired by the formula that Elver established, which for its time was pretty fucking revolutionary. and refreshing. And it's been like that for like 3 maps, and I don't personally think it's gotten stale, but definitely an evolution is welcome in some sense, because it's been some. How many years has it been since Elva released? I don't even remember. Like 3?
It was 2020, I think.
3 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Released on I believe it released today, the 14th. So it was yesterday.
Was it the anniversary yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday Elva released. Like that.
Yeah, so 3 years. That's crazy. I think something interesting when it comes to conversations about map design, especially when Buak released. A lot of people were complaining about it not being like arid, which is kind of funny. Because a lot of the kids who are complaining about that are new kids. Obviously, these kids started playing Unturned back in like when Elva released, and we're gonna just call them the Elva generation. I guess this is what the classification is gonna be like called, the Elva generation. And what these kids don't understand is like, I believe I got this point from somebody else. But what the kids understand is that literally we had this exact same conversation before, and it was so bad to the entire scene. In the case of Russia, after Russia released, it was considered and hailed as the best map at the time, and in my opinion, it was. And everybody just wanted to emulate it, and also to the point, also like the rules kind of made you make it a Russia clone, if it makes any sense. Like the rules in order to make a map were kind of laid out to put you in a direction of making a Russia-styled map, which led to complete in my opinion, the biggest copying of Russia and the way that it played for so long. And I think the tipping point for the entire community was Belgium, not because of it just copying Russia, because of how bad it was. And I think that was just like the tipping point for everybody that it was a bad idea. But these new kids don't know that. Most of the older generation that were around during this time of content creation after Belgium, kind of like a lot of them just kind of were like, this is done. Unturned's finished. Like, this is it. This is the highest point that we can get to as of right now. And I'm glad that I think Buak needs to exist. It's like a map that needs to happen to basically call out this kind of like pattern that was happening beforehand with Russia, and basically kind of break it to a certain degree. Because in general, no map should just be continuous copies forever and ever and ever, because you just get Belgium at the end of it, and that's just not a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's I could see in that Unturned general that a lot of people were really like, they were saying like, oh yeah, Elva was better, which I was thinking, okay, that's fine, that's your opinion. But then they dissed Buak by like saying it sucks or it's bad, and I'm thinking, like, it's like for Arid, it's a great map, but I think it's very easy to get guns. It's very easy to like do like snowball and that sort of thing. In Buak, you can do that too, but like guns aren't like widely available, like unless you know where to go or do dead zone runs. But so honestly, like people who like think that way, like think Elver sucks because the PvP's, or no, people who think Buak sucks because the PvP's not like Arid, are just TikTok brains. I'm gonna be honest.
I agree. Buak is a completely different playstyle. I've played it not only on the SMP but also on Kodak servers, which anyone that knows Kodak understands on the environment that you're being placed in. And it's a very interesting dichotomy, and I really like going back to primitive combat, melee and bows. It's kind of fun to see that again, because it's just like it's always something that's kind of fun. Besides like the guns and like classic maple strike, even though that does exist to a certain degree on Buak, it's just not the general weapons that people use, which is also a breath of fresh air in my opinion. What do you think, Sir Hattie?
Well, I have 2 things to say. First of all, when you said the Elver generation, that kind of made me realize, I've been playing this game for a long time, but there may be newer players for whom Elver and Arid and Kuwait, for however similar they are, it's just a de facto experience of this game. For them, that's just the meta that has always been since they started playing, and that's kind of interesting. And 3 years is not a short time either. I guess in the scope of how long I've played for, it's like less than half, but still. Another thing that I wanted to say, this is going to be kind of strange, but if you think about it, what's another map that sort of came after a series of maps?
Carpet.
Yeah. So I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna finish my idea just so maybe people know what I'm talking about. But it was a map that was essentially counterculture. However, I would like to say Carpet and Buak, where they differ, is the vastly different amount of effort that the developers have just put into this map. I think Carpet. I wouldn't even say tried to innovate because I don't know what was going on in Battlecot's head, but it definitely took the formula and sort of spinned it on its head a little bit with its mechanics. Yeah, Trent?
Oh, I was just wasn't Carpat used just to fund
No, that's a conspiracy theory.
That is a widely believed theory, or like maybe not so widely believed theory.
It's
not
a conspiracy theory.
Maybe, but let's not get
Let's
into
not
that.
get into that because we might have him on the show.
Yeah. That'd be sick if you had Battlecot on the show.
But I guess we could talk. Yeah, that's actually a good conversation to have about Carpet because I think, in my opinion, during the time of Russia clones is what I call like that era was just Russia clones. I think Carpet was literally a saving grace to the people like me who saw just how kind of oversaturated Russia was because in Carpet made you think of things that you wouldn't do on other maps. It was not nature on like let's say France or Russia to think about what you wanted to pick up because it was always beneficial just to pick up every single item. On Carpet, like you can't pick up anything. You could just barely pick up whatever's in your hand slot was the biggest storage you had, and everything else was kind of secondary. And it made you think about certain things in a different way that made me play the game in a different way, even though it was so simple and so kind of lazy. I mean, it was interesting to play a different way. And I think Carvat inherently was an important map to happen, even though it was bad. Just the same way that Belgium was an important map to happen, and just being bad no matter what. But yeah, I mean, I think in my opinion, the era, we're gonna compare just the kind of the counterculture. Buak is kind of the Carpet of that era, and I think that's interesting to point out.
I'd say yeah. And looking back, Carpet, in spite of what I might have said about it on release, and I didn't see it at the time, was definitely some sort of catalyst for something more. And I think people have pointed out before the similarities between some mechanics that Carpet employs and some mechanics that Elver would eventually employ in its philosophy. But yeah, I think that both maps are sort of similar. And although you cannot compare how well realized the scope of the maps were, you could definitely compare sort of the climate, the point in the God, I don't have my words on me. But yeah, they both came out at a time when the same meta had been employed for a couple years by then. And I think, maybe precisely even 3. When did Carpet came out? 2018?
Yeah. I think around that time, 2017, 18.
So, they both let the meta sort of linger for a couple, like precisely 3 to 4 years, and then the map came out. Now, then, comparing these two maps is also interesting, because besides this counterculture element, besides the fact that they both have a really gloomy atmosphere, sort of eerily similar, how much more can you liken one to the other? Well, maybe we could think about that.
I don't know, because I don't think I could compare. I don't think I could. Okay, obviously, we can't compare the maps, like the content of the maps, because it's obvious that Buak wins no matter what, because of how innovative Buak really is.
It does.
But I think when it comes to the ideas of like it being something against the grain, it's obvious. Like that's the kind of the ideas like everyone kind of has. At least with Buak, there's a lot more people who like Buak on release than Carpet. I think Carpet was hated by a lot of people on release. I think it was 70-30. 70 hated it, and then 30% just kind of played it and kind of enjoyed it, but like none didn't go out ahead and said that this map was good. But yeah, I think maybe the reception was heavily different, but the idea of it being against the grain of what was considered kind of the standard is obviously there. So I mean, it's hard to say, really point out the similarities when again, the development of them are so different. It's just mainly the placing of the eras, kind of like, I guess, rhymes, but like that's about it.
Yeah, I think you can have a far more complete survival experience and more fulfilling survival experience on Buak. Maybe the comparison isn't even that strong. It just, came to us because surface level stuff. Maybe there's not even more to look into.
I think that, but I think it is fair though, because I think it maybe it illustrates a rhythm within Unturned as a whole, of what will be created in the future, and maybe we'll look back on this and be like, oh, this is this era's Carpat, or this era's Buak. You know what I mean? Maybe the next era of Unturned, whatever that may be, and I mean, I think that's interesting to point out. I mean, if we call it out and say, like, in the future that there will be another style that's completely, like, a new era ushers in, which, like, Russia and Elver were kind of the new eras of, like, map development. And there's a new map that ushers a new era. We can point out, like, what was the Karpa and Buak of that era? What's it going to be, you know?
I've got to say, though, looking back, the three, let's say, and I don't like to use this term too much, but for sake of convenience, let's say Elver era maps. I haven't really played Arid that much, but I want to focus on Kuwait a little bit because in terms of storytelling, I think that map was highly transformative of what came before. And I think it's definitely in itself a basis upon which what was built on Buak, because the story of Kuwait was something that, for instance, I wouldn't want to spoil it for people who haven't played, but the safe zone aspect where characters come and go and massive changes happen, you find out a lot of things, and you have to go back and forth between the two safe zones that exist on the map, and you have to uncover this massive fucking conspiracy or whatever, and then you get to meet some. Well, I'm gonna spoil it, but you get to meet some Liberator folk before the Liberator, which is just like some pretty big stuff for a curated map, and I definitely think that was a step forward, the complexity of that, and then another step forward was what Toothy has done with Buak, with the cutscenes, and once again just the dynamic of the safe zone and the characters as a whole,
and and the cutscenes as well. Like I feel like, for me, Kuwait used to be have like some of the best storytelling, or I would say story aspects, and now it's got to be Buak. I won't give too much spoilers, but like a lot of cool animations. I'd say more immersiveness, a little bit like more busy work, which I'm not a super big fan of when it comes to maps. Like, of course, they want you to go to certain places and do stuff, but it's like for example, get me one of each hide from every animal, and it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what Triton was saying. I think the most important thing when it came to storytelling that Buak has innovated in my personal opinion, because I'm fucking, an ape, is basically just like vocals. Literally, I think one of the biggest problems is just reading emotion through text, and no matter what context. Like, reading emotion through text is kind of hard, but vocalization and voice acting inherently just makes that so much more better and so much more streamlined when it comes to what is supposed to be happening and what is happening in the moment, and I think that was a very big step forward for storytelling in Unturned. So I really did appreciate that, and when I did do the quest line fully, I appreciated a lot of things about that.
I have to say, Toothy has probably dipped her toes into something that I wonder if many map developers in the past would have wished to dip their toes into, this whole voice acting a cutscene aspect, but maybe either by technical limitations or lack of technical knowledge, or maybe just because they would thought would be such a jarring undertaking, they didn't do it. Because it's a bit of a gamble. Voice acting in Unturned had never been done before in an official or curated manner up until now. I don't believe. No, that's false. I think the little guys on Arizona and Kuwait make some noises and say hello.
I'm not considering that. I'm not considering that.
Part of the quest. Come on.
I'm not considering that. No, that's not the
let's
same.
ignore that because that's not fully realized voice acting. But
in my opinion, that's just not really inherently valuable to the narrative of the story, though. It's not really streamlined. No. It's just.
I guess that's the difference fundamentally.
Yeah. Well, I haven't tried it.
No. What? No, I'm just moving my chair around a little bit. I think so. I've known about Buak longer than anybody because I remember talking with Toothy and she said that oh hey, I have an idea for a map. I listened to it. I'm just thinking, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And then she decided like then and there to like work on it. And I think I remember I was like giving my own suggestions, and I think some of them made it in. I mean, they're very broad suggestions, like the titanium stuff. Like I suggested that, but she's the one that made it happen. So I think we were planning. I think originally, like in the very early testing stages of the map, there's going to be like a humongous like a train track that surrounds the entire island, basically, and it would just be kind of like one of those like those like really old like train contraptions, the ones that you pump up and down to like make the thing.
Yeah.
It would just be like one of those, so you could just get around the map faster, but maybe a little bit too. I think it was a little bit too much because the map was insane sized at first, and then Toothy switched it to large. So, and I'm kind of glad you did that because it's
really good idea.
The driftless didn't really give great performance. I would say one of the most. I'm trying to remember. So you know the dead zone in the middle of the mountain. I don't think it's too much spoilers because it's already there. Originally, that was going to be like a prison, and the lore was that like all dangerous criminals would be like transported by like a boat into this, and there'd be 3 levels like the mine. There'd be like level 1, level 2, and level 3 would be filled with like the most insane people. I was suggesting like, oh, let's have some like really insane people try to attack you. You know, it's like to like make it more like creepy and whatnot. There's
you were there at the beginning. I remember you talking to me about stuff like that. I think it was like during the show's run.
Maybe there was one really big thing that could have maybe spoiled Buak, and I remember this vividly because I was with Knight Rider at the time when he discovered it. So Knight was testing out the map. I think Toothy gave him like access, like really early access to it. So it's like incredibly bare bones. Like it was just, I think, terrain, buildings. And I think we were looking around like the Scorpion 7 stuff, and we saw like Ente with animations, thinking, oh, that's really cool. And then Knight noticed something, so I went back on the workshop, and it was public. So that means like access to these like workshops, so anyone could have downloaded and spoiled it.
Okay.
And, yeah, by that time we managed to report, or Knight managed to report it, and Toothy was able to fix it. So
could you imagine? Dude, the leakers out there missed their chance, bro. The leakers missed their chance.
The leakers and the glitches.
No. No.
What's up, Glitcher?
No, oh my god. Okay. Alright, we gotta move on.
Alright.
Hey,
yeah, I mean...
I do have a question for future generations of map makers. Well, it's not a question for them, it's a question about them. I wonder if people will take up to the idea of introducing voice acting and make it a standard thing, or at least a semi-standard thing, or if they will say, okay, I'm not dipping my toes into this, and just we'll never see a map like this again. I really do wonder. Because, first of all, you need the ability to make animations that are not jarring. I really like what Toothy did with the face animations. That was a good stylistic choice with the sort of stop motion. I like that. I hope if future map makers replicate something like that. Then you need some, decent voice actors, or just someone who doesn't fuck up completely. Personally, I've got to say, Toothy asked me to do some voice lines for like a month, and I did them in the last possible day before the deadline, so I'm sorry about that. I just like to apologize again. But yeah, I do wonder what the future holds in that regard.
It's funny that you say that. Sorry, Trident. But it's funny that you say that because the voice acting has always been like, it's something that needed to happen. I think it will be maybe more done in the future. It's just a matter of knowing how to do it.
It's more of like one of those things that you just can't go back to regular, like just looking at dialogue and whatnot. I feel like there's going to be a lot of map makers that will want to introduce that sort of thing. Because personally, I enjoyed the story because it was more dynamic. There wasn't, like you like have to go press F on everyone and like just have to read through walls and walls of text. But it's like during those cutscenes, everyone like actually walks, talks, so you feel more in tune.
Yeah, and I do agree with the point that it's really good stylistically for Unturned how they actually like move, talk, and generally just conduct themselves. I think that a lot of experiences from Toothy's older work on YouTube, and I think a lot of that carried over what was right, what was wrong, and really did help that. And I think people could emulate that style more. And I think Toothy laid out a blueprint for people that this is possible and what you should do with characters to make that possible without it being like you said, jarring or unnatural.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's very innovative on so many things when it comes to questline and main actual survival aspects as well. But yeah, I like what you thought of it as like generally just Buak.
So I guess this is like the prologue for the Buek episode coming soon.
The prologue. No, but like I mean, yeah, it's just like the current topic at the time, and I think that's fair.
Yeah. No. Ooh.
I guess I'm gonna ask Addy something. What is your? we were talking about carpet earlier, and I think it was something that I wanted to ask you a long time ago, but I never really got to. What is your general opinion on carpet as of right now?
As of right now, I think I sort of regret a lot of the things that I've said about it in that one video in 2018 or 19, I think. When did it come out? I think I literally asked this earlier in the episode. Let's say 18. Mm-hmm. So generally speaking, if I could go back and say different things, maybe I would. I also do not like to, think I'm that important, but maybe some things I said in that video also influence people's general opinion on this map, which, maybe was harsher than it should have been. Generally speaking, I think the map was extremely lazily done. I'm not sure if those people had ever played Unturned for more than 5 hours each. And that's sort of, excluding the time it took to make the map. And that's, yeah. But I think hindsight is an important thing. Looking back at Carpet, it just did do things differently. Something that is completely blasphemous in my video is that I said Carpet didn't do things differently. But it definitely did. I guess I just felt something about it at the time that I couldn't put into words. And that is just that the map is fucking odd, and it makes you feel sort of empty inside. But I think that's just because you see so many missed opportunities. You see these monsters in the dead zone. You see the flourishing economy in the safe zone. And all these interesting concepts, like the clothing having like 4 inventory slots each. Which, by the way, I was going to mention, but I forgot. If we're going to compare Buak and Carpet to another thing, it's more of a contrast, but Buak clothing has a ton of inventory slots, while Carpet has like none. Another interesting thing to consider. But yeah, generally speaking, that's what I think. I think it's just a map that has existed, and it doesn't deserve to be demonized. I think it should be sort of... it should be understood just how important it was for going forward with curated maps. And I think it inspired Elver to some extent. So I definitely have got to give it credit for that. It's definitely sort of a favorite of mine in terms of curated projects by now. It just sort of, I don't know, means a lot to me in a weird way, even though I also fucking hate it in a sense.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
It is. So like, it's funny you mentioned like the clothing thing, because it does tend to change how you would think about stuff. Instead of grabbing everything, you just grab meticulously like what you would need or whatever's possible, which brings up a pretty obvious point, which is if you want to change how people play the game, you have to change a core aspect of in Unturned. So that could probably include like inventory. Like for example, Arid has huge inventory space to compensate for all the stuff you need. I think Elver has like regular, but then there's also things like gasoline. I didn't notice this at first in Buak, but Buak has a ton of gasoline. But I thought would be interesting is if there was very few like artificial places to get gas, so you would have to rely on things like solar powers or pump jacks. So that means you have to get to more advanced crafting to actually like get what you want, which also then leads to power, like to power like certain things. Like you would need gasoline, which could make up like a big could make an artificial progression like a barrier, basically extending the game's, I would say, gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I think to add on to that point, Trident, when you were talking about it earlier, I think you have to make a giant gameplay change to stand out in people's minds. Because when I think of Kuwait, I think of the oil and how you can make plastic and how that was useful for making stuff. When I think about Elver, I think about the centralized location of the city, like everything right next to each other for combat along with questline. When I think about Arid, I think about the separation of the dead zones of 2, along with generally just a more easier chance of snowballing. And when I think of Carpet, I think of you're going to die to a bear and no storage spots whatsoever. I mean, think of maps like Cyprus. Like, nothing stands out to me besides it being bad and central, like a dead zone in the middle of the map. And that was so garbage, like, as a concept. I think of Belgium. What was the thing that came to my mind? The sheep.
The Vanillium.
I forgot about that.
The sheep. That was legit it. Like, when I think of Ireland, but the thing that comes into my mind was the introduction of spirit zombies. And that wasn't even, like, really an Ireland thing. That was just an Unturned thing.
If I may, spirit zombies were also just really underused after that map came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not a very game-breaking addition.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just like the most thing that stand out. You kind of, when you kind of want to do future map creators, if you're listening to this, you kind of want to make something completely different on the start that changes the way that you play, because I think that's the most important. That's what sticks in people's minds when it comes to your map. You probably, I mean, to newer map creators that you've been around maybe since the start of the Elver era and wanting to be getting into this maps, but feel like maybe you don't have the chops to do it. Trust me on this one. Literally, just as long as you change maybe a general concept that people overlook or something that you just see a lot of and want to change it completely, just do that. Because generally, as long as you can really just change the way that people can play a map, people will remember that map. And I think that's all you really need to know to start making stuff. And, I think that's the most important thing for anybody to know when they're starting out a map. But don't go too crazy. Don't be changing anything like super insane about the game and making like some weird ass map. But generally, you should strive to be to leave a memory in the people's mind of a concept that they never really thought of or was generally more done in your map. What, Trident, are you in like a bar? What the fuck was that?
I think he's in the pantry.
Oh, I'm just doing recycling really quick. I'll be...
Bro,
I missed the big one, which is Elver. So with Elver, you had to go to... With Elver, you had to go to 3 different places to get certain materials for a centralized material that allowed you to craft things like explosive and explosive. And I thought that encouraged you to like at least venture out and not just sit in your base.
Where is this guy?
I've got to say, one thing I really love about you guys' podcast is just how seriously you guys take it. It's wonderful.
I sit here and just talk about this stuff. Trident's over here eating, recycling, opening his doors. I don't even know.
Charlie, I'm sorry. I'm helping out my parents while they're out taking care of my sisters. Like, maybe I'll just sit up in my room like a fattest like you are.
You know what, Trident? It's really admirable. It's just that I couldn't exactly make out what you said earlier about Elver. All that much.
Oh, no. Polaris.
Polaris.
what I was saying is that we missed that we Charlie overlooked Polaris as like a main game, like a game changing thing where you had to go to 3 places that were somewhat far away. The little guardian eye things to get the crystals, the hilltops to get the Polaris rose, or I believe, oh no, the flower thing, and then I believe that zombie thing inside that like Scorpion 7 place for the hard drive thing. And then you had to go to one of the many workbench areas to actually craft a pretty valuable material that allowed for things such as like, explosives, ammunition, and all that good stuff. Which is also is raiding. I remember suggesting to Ren that in single player, raiding doesn't really have much of a use, if that makes sense. Like, there's not much. There's like literally, like you can't just craft an RPG warhead in single player, and you can't like raid any bases. I mean, you can fight zombies, but that's a huge waste. I suggested like late game bunkers, where you have to either like blow open like the doors that are blocking them, and either it was like loot or quest items that you could get, so it would continue beyond that. I just thought it'd be giving more uses to raiding supplies. Dougie.
Yeah, I think that's a general concept, but I don't know, my views on Polaris are really not favorable. I personally don't think Polaris is too crazy. I think the questline is pretty fun. But generally I just don't look favorably upon Polaris. I told Danaby that I think Polaris is his Germany, and I think that was the most critical I've ever been of a map, because I think being called Germany is really like a really bad thing. So I told Danaby that this is his Germany and that he needs to either do something off the wall or just fade into existence.
Nice going, Charlie.
That was my honest reaction. I had to tell him how I felt about what I was playing.
Your honest reaction.
Because of you.
I mean, it's not meant to be completely demotivating. I hope that it wasn't completely demotivating to Dan, because I think that that's just something that needed to be said, because I think a lot of people really were telling Dan that this map was really good, but look how many people are playing Polaris as of right now, as opposed to like maps like Arid or even basic Elver. It's just not comparable. And I just straight up told Dan how I think it would be perceived, and I think I was correct on that assumption when saying that. So
we haven't only got like a new Arid map every year ever since Elver.
Have we?
So,
I mean, I think so, but
it was Elver. 2021 was Kuwait. 2022 was,
I think it was both Arid and Polaris.
Yeah, Arid and Polaris. Polaris was like late December, and then this year was Buak.
Antarctica too. Don't forget about that.
Antarctica.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry.
But what were the wolf sound effects made by? Like, who did those wolf sound effects?
Man, I would guess Renaxon, but
but I mean, I don't know. Generally, I think my points on what I said to Dan was correct, and I don't think I'm gonna change my viewpoint on that. I know a lot of people liked Polaris. I think Megamind, rest in peace, when we played Polaris, that shit was pretty fun. And I mean, he did also give me a little bit of a, well, we were playing on like a 10x, but like it was still pretty fun. So there is redeemable qualities of it. I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like Polaris is a like inherently bad map. I just think when it comes to the other maps at the time, in comparison to like PEI, Washington, Russia, and Germany. I'm excluding Yukon from this. At the time you had Arid, Kuwait, and Elver, and then now you have this Germany, which is Polaris, and I think it's fitting. It's fitting.
I guess, yeah. Wait,
So, I mean, that's my general feeling. So, Serati, have you played Polaris a lot?
No, I will have to admit, and I apologize to Daniel Dunaby too. He's my friend. But when I think of the, again, I hate this term, but the Elver era maps, I forget to even think about it. It doesn't come up into my mind.
damn.
So, not because, I don't have strong feelings against it. I simply do not have strong feelings for it. It has not stood in my mind, though that could very easily be because I've stopped playing Unturned.
Ooh, that is hot.
Hmm?
Bro,
It's hot.
oh my god.
What temperature is it?
I wanted to see how hot it was, so like my dog didn't have to like burn his paws, and I put my hand on the asphalt for like 3 seconds, and like that shit hurt.
Christ.
You cook
Well,
eggs on that.
obviously it would.
No, yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted. You can continue.
Well, I forgot where I was, so let's
you
leave it
just
at
don't
that.
play Polaris, and this is coming to your mind.
Oh, yeah. Polaris is just a map that I haven't gotten to play much. Although, one thing that has stuck in my mind is the whole Penguins quest line. And actually, Polaris is a bit of a hidden gem in this department for what it did. A lot of sort of first-person animated cutscenes in that map. Well, I'm mainly thinking of the tank thing. Maybe there weren't that many. But
The tank, the
I
helicopter.
The helicopters, yeah.
Yes, I think that should be duly noted because it was another thing that he dipped his toes into just to see what it would be like.
Yeah, that is something that is stuck in my mind. Along with, I'll also say the housing, like the pre-made housing that you can take over, like the igloos and the barns. I think that was interesting too. A lot of them. I guess this is why I call it the Germany, is because Germany itself was a lot of concepts put together in a map. And Polaris, to me, was a lot of concepts put together into a map. And that's what
It's
I
a
feel about the
combination.
maps. Yeah. But it's not necessarily that those concepts are bad. It's just like, when you mesh a bunch of concepts together, it's just kind of like, like, okay.
Yeah. I was, I think I remember, like, seeing Polaris early on, like, in one of Danaby 2's streams. Like, not as, like, official stream, but, like, a Discord stream. And like I saw like that workbench like idea that he had, like because you can't like like it's not like Rust where you can like stand near something and craft it, because apparently that's like pretty airtight when it comes to like not changing things. Anyways, I thought I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that's all.
I think I know a lot of people talk about like workbenches, but technically, I just think here's a map idea for all the map creators listening. Go make a map that uses the campfires as the crafting bench, and make food like you can eat raw food just straight up. Like we're back. Like, make a caveman map. Where we're legit. Just you can eat raw food and you'll be fine. But the fire is like what you need to make like good shit. Like
the most broken weapon is a slingshot.
No, you can make like a torch, or like you can make like burning coals or something, and it gives you like a bleeding effect. You get hit or something. That'd be kind of funny.
You know what? I think the problem with a map like that is, let's say you could make it just tight in concept and execution. Just make every mechanic work with one another. Make it a really sound execution, but no one would be into it, I don't think.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't know. I think like survival mechanics, and especially heavily emphasized survival mechanics, are often maybe not what people are into, maybe not what Unturned players are into right now. And I'm not sure if they're open enough to change their mind.
No, I agree with that point.
It's more PvP based. Otherwise, I think people would have a much more welcoming like aura when it comes to Buak. If they want really good survival, then they would be more like kind about Buak. But
this is, I think in my opinion, it doesn't really too stray away from PvP as well, because I mean, like, I've played it in multiplayer servers, and there is highly PvP scenarios that are really nice, and I like them. It's a breath of fresh air from pistols and crossbows and bows from like Russia's just pure assault rifles. But
Yeah.
I think if I were to make something, I genuinely would not care about anything else besides wanting to make people angry and just making something that is so like different from the way that you play, and that nobody will inherently like it, and I know that. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't give a fuck. I would just make something that I like, and everything else would just like be secondary to me, because I think I don't really care about anything else besides what I want to do. I know that sounds kind of sussy, but like I think that's something that just I would do.
Let's see.
But I mean that's everything. I mean, what do you think about that, Sir Addy? And he's gone.
I would say, generally speaking, what I think about that is you're gonna have to find it. It's located at the top of the mountain on Buak. Climb the big mountain on Buak, and you'll find what I think about that. It's definitely worth it. Go and see.
Nothing.
Okay. Addy, what do you think about being at the top of Mount Olympus? What did you think about that analogy I gave you last time we had like a podcast?
I don't exactly recall the analogy, not entirely.
I was saying that during your era, you kind of were the last person of the YouTube era that was at Olympus. Everyone else kind of like went down from the mountain of Olympus and went to go do their own things, and you kind of were just left there to be kind of like one of the only people left.
Not like a paragon of unturned content. Oh, that's weird to think of.
No, I just mean like one of the people that were there during that era of unturned content creation and seeing everyone go, and being one of the only people that kind of had like still a foothold in the scene, without inherently saying outright that you're leaving,
Well, I've been tempted to say a lot of times that I'm leaving. I did it a couple of times as far back as 2017, maybe. But then I just stopped because I realized you do that, you alienate a lot of people who are, holding up to hope that you might return. And, it's so spontaneous with me whenever I have inspiration or will to make a video. It's just, for now, let's say I'm still around. And, it's sort of undetermined. Let's pretend that it does take me 2 years to make a video, and that's that.
Time's coming up.
Oh God, it's on Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, people are still talking to me about making like Glitchmas, which is kind of funny.
A Glitchmas?
Come on, Charlie. I don't believe that.
Yeah, no, I've been told multiple times by people, when's the next Glitchmas? It's not even a joke.
Oh my God.
It's not even a
By
joke.
multiple times. That's crazy.
Yeah, multiple times during the entire existence of after Glitchmas. So we're talking like from 2017 to now. There's still people that ask me about it. Which would be funny. To be fair, maybe I did a different life. I would have done more Glitchmases, but no, I'm done with that. That's a whole different story. But I don't know. I don't know. When it comes to content creation, I guess I can relate to that. With me, it's just like if I want to make something, I'll make it. Like I'll like get the motivation to make it, and I'll be like, all right, I'm done. It's not like I don't have any ideas. I definitely do have ideas, and if there was someone that had more motivation to make unturned content, and had my idea list and knew the knowledge that I did, they definitely would succeed heavily. But it's just a matter of like, again, the motivation to do the content, because it's not like we don't succeed in making good content. It's just like, do we really want to do it?
Right.
But I don't know. It's a weird kind of story with unturned content creators, though, because it's like it's always been in this weird limbo. I think have you thought about that, Addy? Like, think about every other game that's popular and like the similar sizes to us, and how crazy Unturned is underperforming on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a ghost town presently. We used to have at least, P9 was someone you could always come back to, and he'd be active. I mean, Nilex, for what it's worth, I think he deserves a lot of, let's say not praise, or maybe praise, but mostly just recognition for the fact that he has stuck to this game for so unbelievably long, and I think he still posts content on the regular, content that is decently high quality. You can definitely feel that it's his work and it's his signature, even though it's not as grand as his, the nuke or something. I don't think I should hope he'll one day make something that intrigue or like that well realized in scope again. But I guess what I was going to ultimately say by this is, yeah, you can definitely feel the absence of a lot of people as of late, and you even have like Z-Man, who has recently moved on to Minecraft, as far as I can see on his main channel. So that's another one gone in a sense. I'm glad to see people, spread wings and go, or like, not even spread their wings on YouTube, just, leave unturned and pursue things in other fields. But yeah, I don't think it's ever going to be not a little bit soul wrenching that there used to be a YouTube scene as far back as like 2017, 2018, and now it's not. And it's been like this for 5 years.
Yeah, it's kind of, it is kind of interesting because it's like when Robocast said on like Twitter like that he said that there was like a whole market left for Unturned that needs to be filled and no one's filling it, and I'm like, is that even like a real thing? Is there even a real market for Unturned content? Because it's obvious that it's not like you can't make good content and get views. Silver threw like that in completely in the trash, that idea in the trash with his latest biggest video, and which was inspired by Rust content. And I think that was a very important video that happened because it showed people that there is people that do know about Unturned and will watch Unturned content if it's good enough
and enjoy it.
Yeah,
like,
but then I also I also look at other games as well. There's this one game that I play a lot and I still play today. It's this game called Melee. I'm bad at it. Don't don't get it twisted. But the market for that on Google search is like 10,000 people look up Melee. But YouTube videos on this game, the Melee, is fucking crazy. I'm looking at 1.6 million, 2 million, 800,000. And it's like, it seems like there's no market for it, but it has so many views. And I know the views are real, but it's just interesting content because it's talking about a game that's so old. So I wonder if, as time goes on, are we just the stepping stones for the future generations to become more successful than us? Or is Unturned cursed to be stuck in this limbo position where you cannot succeed off of it? Where you have to branch out off of this content to something else? Is that Unturned's always going to be the stepping stone for other content?
I feel like we just have to wait for the future. I mean,
you know what?
Unturned, the thing is like, not many people know about Unturned, but I guarantee that at least
I disagree.
80% of who's like 80% of who's ever gotten Steam has installed Unturned at some point. It's like a free game, people want survival back in like 2016, 2015. They found that game and maybe some of them went away because they just the graphics were they were just too blocky or something, like Minecraft XDayZ, but people stuck around and enjoyed it, and slowly over time that's been chipped away for a solid nearly 8 years until we have what's left now. But I think because the thing is, Unturned still shows signs. It's I think it's 60K players, but I don't know if I believe that. I believe
at that point though, we were questioning the entirety of Steam at that point, because look at Rust. Rust is in the similar situation when it came to its graphics. Look at old Rust, bro. Old Rust looks horrible. From what it looks like. Oh yeah, I know. But look at the position that Rust is in when it comes to the YouTube scene. And there's been many moments in time that Unturned has passed Rust in player numbers so fucking much. It's always kind of happened a back and forth right now. So it's just super questioning. Think about
Rust is a paid.
But yeah, Rust is a paid game. Yeah, I understand that. But I mean, I guess what balances out the paidness and that is the notoriety of how many people have played Unturned. I think there was a report back in 2019 when there was a glitch with achievements that someone was able to run the math on how many people can actually owned a game, and they ran, I think it was like 44 million people had Unturned in their library, or like just the achievement to on PEI, I think it was 44 million people. That's insane. That is a crazy ass number. Good. That is not. It's
not like itty bitty, you know.
That's not like, you know, peanuts, bro. AAA companies fucking wish they got those numbers for a game that they made during a time where gaming was so fucking big at the time when Unturned kind of released. It was it was a whole new generation of games that ushered in when indie developers and AAA companies at that time. So I mean, that's crazy. So it just doesn't make sense to me why there's no market. I assume that the only reason
there's no content. I think
the reason, Trident, I think there's fundamentally a problem with Unturned, and I think the reason is because it's just the storytelling was never really there, unless we consider base rating storytelling, which I think, in my opinion, is not there.
I mean, you could literally say the same thing about Rust, right? I mean, there's a ton of story. I mean, I think it's just the effort, because it's like you could just say, oh yeah, I spawned a beach, I got stuff. Oh yeah, wait, I got killed by this clan. Okay, I'm gonna get more stuff. The base is rated. I feel like creators like I and maybe a lot of other people just need to put in more thought, more effort into like actually like trying to get people's attention when it comes to Unturned. I mean, I remember talking about this about either Toothy or Knight, but I think it was the one time when I remember the one video about the base rating, the meme, like generous man fixes the base.
Yeah.
That, like, you told me something that I wish I caught on to, because I guarantee if I probably did and I was committed, I could probably be at 1 million subs right now. But it was the shorts thing. When we were looking at my statistics, we noticed a huge jump in views, I think. And then I believe you said like, oh, like I think after we found out like about like the official sort of standing of shorts was when we discovered that we both accidentally discovered the power of shorts when probably very few people knew.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you say that.
I think
because I think Mr. Beast is now saying like, you're stupid if you don't make shorts. Like, you have to make shorts now.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I think for Unturned, I barely see any shorts. I see big videos. Like, I love Liam. I see his, like, a bunch of videos. The thing is, I don't see that many Unturned short videos. Like, it's crazy. Like, I haven't uploaded in a while, and I think I have one, like, top 5, maybe most viewed shorts, which I think is maybe, like, 150K. So, I think it probably might have to be my job to just become a shorts YouTuber.
I think that's interesting. To anybody that's listening to this as a content creator, yeah, abuse the short system, because I think Unturned does have a completely undervalue for shorts as a time being. I think if you just make shorts content, it will be promoted in the algorithm more so than regular Unturned videos. And I think
this includes Unturned. This includes Unturned content creators, because the short that I uploaded, not the most recent one, but the one before that about like guns, I have not uploaded in a series of 3 or 5 months, and I just uploaded that, and I think it's now at like 5,000. You could obviously, it's pretty easy to get like views, but it's like being like super absent for such a long time and not having like a huge sub count, getting that many views means it's like, that's like you're onto something, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, the whole next generation. It's just, I think the thing is, I thought about this for a little bit too. What was the peak of Unturned content creation? And I think of this moment, there's one moment in Unturned content creation when Boom gets off for the night on the Gang Z server on Hawaii, and what he does, he puts a hovercraft in a hotel, and he leaves it there. And he wakes up the next morning, he gets on Unturned, and he's told by his group that the hovercraft's been stolen. And he goes in with all the sound effects that Boom has. Everything that he did was edited. And he made it just so much better. and him going into that room and seeing a gun and him saying no, and then it just being it. I think that was Unturned's peak when it came to storytelling and Unturned's content creation scene, and everything after that point was just downhill. And I think that's very sad to say.
I think the truth is, what makes people want to create content is seeing other people create content. But more specifically, when I think about me like Big Boom, he was such a complete package of a man. Well, okay, I don't want to say that. That could be interpreted in a sort of sexual way. But like,
come on,
hang with me. Okay, so bear with me. He was a guy who knew how to enhance a video with all the due sound effects, with all the due storytelling. But his talent didn't stop there. He also knew how to sell the video. He was also consistent about it. And such a man can create this sort of culture within himself. He had such a gravitational pull to him, I think, that, it inspires others to make shit. And I think the same could have gone for 2R games. And I think that's the type of hype that makes smaller people want to step up, want to try their hand at this, want to, feel inspired. And I, even though it's been pretty bleak so far, and it is, I think, anything is possible if you only just believe. I mean, it just takes someone with a little bit of talent and vision to come up on the scene. Maybe see something in this game that other people don't. Maybe have that touch that makes a video good. And maybe, breathe some new life, and with it create a new ecosystem of creators. That's how I interpret it. But I guess we can know until such a person would step up. And whenever that happens, I don't know. Does someone love this game enough? Did someone have such a talent for video making enough? Does someone want to be consistent enough with something like this? And not to mention, the whole YouTube game has sort of changed. Like you guys were saying, there's the whole shorts aspects of it. I don't even know how the algorithm works anymore nowadays, because I'm just so fucking disconnected, if I'm honest. But yeah.
Yeah, we're in a whole different era of existence on content creation. And I think generally Unturned hasn't really caught up with the times at all. So there is a lot of things that need to be done for the scene. But I wonder if it is if we are doomed to fail, and we've always been doomed to fail because we've been chasing the wrong things, or there's just something inherently, limiting ourselves that we haven't reached that point yet. And I think yeah, 2R games, MLBB were two of the people who showed everybody you can make it on the scene, and you can tell good stories through Unturned, and you can have a good laugh through Unturned. So I think there's a lot of things that can be done, and just need to be explored. Just a matter of somebody willing to do it.
Didn't this is a little bit off topic, but wasn't it true that when looking at multiple things of statistics for Unturned's population, wasn't it like only 10,000 were on like servers?
I believe so.
Playing together?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, Rust is primarily multiplayer. So it's like there's a bunch more like social stuff that happens. I mean, it's like a lot of people, it's like, how interesting can you get like in single player? I know you could probably get like pretty interesting, but like having like people to like mess around with, and do all this sort of thing, I think is the reason why Unturned's having a hard time. My Rust is like succeeding, or is a reason?
It could also be generally just the audience. I mean, I think there's no denying that Unturned's audience is way different than Rust's audience of who's playing the game, and I think the audience itself is also maybe limiting a lot of people from searching out Unturned content. I mean, hell, when I started playing Unturned, I didn't really watch Unturned YouTube. Hell, I don't even watch Unturned YouTube that much now. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. Like, a lot of people don't watch Unturned content that play the game, which is odd if you think about it, because I feel like you can't say that about many games. I feel like if they're like DayZ, I can watch like Stimpy play that game. Rust, I fucking was watching Spoon Kid, Blaze, and Stimpy when I was playing Rust, and I think those guys are great. I guess Liam is kind of in that scenario where people watch Liam that play Unturned. I know that for a fact. And I think P9 was in that scenario, and in the past it was Boom and 2R Games in that scenario too. Like, so it's really odd right now, I guess you could say, because I think
Mhm.
I think priorities for content creation is more shifted to which is not a bad thing. I think it's mainly just more workshop stuff than it was content creation, because I feel like uh I think Unturned is just, I don't know, maybe just set to lose in that environment because of how many people are actually searching for it, which is very odd, because I think the last time I checked for it, Unturned was being searched 60,000 times in a week span, I think it was, which is kind of crazy, because I mean I brought up the comparison earlier of Melee, which is a fucking game from 2000, like so long ago. I think 2000s, like yeah, like 2000s, early 2000s. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of questions, and I mean even Nelson questions like a lot of the stuff that happens. Like he questions the player count numbers himself, when looking at it. So I really, there's a lot of questions in the air that has not had a really good answer to it, and I think that's really odd to think about. Maybe there's someone out there that could, discover and uncover the reasons why. We've always tried to, but I don't think we've ever gotten a decisive answer. Or maybe we need some guidance to make us all the better version of ourselves on the content creation scene. I think it'd be funny if I were to ever get Mr. Beast on the show. I think I would just be talking about general topics about like just mainly like, what do you think a growing scene needs to do to succeed in the algorithm? Because technically, I think maybe this is questions that he hasn't even thought of, is with a new genre that just appears out of the scene, how does it grow? Because what I listened to a lot of what he said is like, you have to look at the content that exists right there in between and see what others are doing to succeed, which to a certain degree was correct, because Silver was the biggest example of that, which copying the storytelling of the Rust scene in Unturned. So I mean, there's a lot of concepts that we could probably take from the more influential people than us and succeed with. I don't know. We've been going on for a long time. Do you want to call it here? You guys want to call it here?
We could.
Addy?
What about you, Addy?
Well, unless you guys have anything to bring up, I'd say this has been a pretty good episode nonetheless. I've enjoyed being here.
Nice.
Awesome.
Talking to you guys. It's genuinely some deep topics that, are still ongoing. And I don't know. Is it exciting? Is it bleak looking towards the future? I don't know. I think it's sort of scary, generally speaking. And I think in the case of Unturned, it's just whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess there's one thing I want to say before we end the episode is, I think what needs to happen as well is I think we generally just have to have more masterminds. And what I mean by that is just generally getting a bunch of people together and just talking about this game. Because I think then we will call out blind spots that we're missing, and then we'll get to better answers from there. So I think that'd be better. I mean, the show kind of was like that, so I think a lot of people did get a lot of like information from the show. Like Toothy has said to me, like a lot of concepts were from the show that like I brought up, or like Knight brought up, or Trident brought up. So I think that's genuinely good. So we'll see what the future holds. I hope it's not as bleak as it is, as we may think it is. I don't think it is going to be. I think there's always going to be something new, something interesting. And hell, if everything goes to shit, I'm still going to be here to see it happen. You're not getting rid of me just yet. So yeah.
I hope not.
Well, this concludes this episode of the Unturned Podcast. I'm sorry about last month, but here you go. Bye-bye. Bye.
Guys, I've just found out next episode I'm not going to be hosting anymore. I'm sorry.
Maybe we'll keep Cerati on. If people like this episode with Cerati, then we'll keep Cerati on. All right, bye-bye.
Please, guys. See ya.